Slick and Shiny tongue-in-cheek productions once more takes you on a trip to the days of yesteryear as we stumble our way through a maze of digital nonsense to bring you one of these little episodes. We've been looking at the history of various places throughout Westmoreland County, and today we're going to look at Hunker, that place just a little bit down south of New Stanton. And to get us started, what I do is put this in to give us a little bit of context, show us where we're at. This is a view from up in the air. Up here is Greensburg, with Route 30 going through. You get on 119 down to New Stanton, and just down below New Stanton a bit is a place called Hunker. Now, it's not a big place. Up here is New Stanton, up here, with 70 going through. And as you come down the road, you find this place. It's actually a borough, which means it's not just an unincorporated village in Westmoreland County and in Hempfield Township. It's actually incorporated as a political entity that is responsible for its own taking care of itself, keeping the streets clean, and doing the various things that a borough does. I might mention that it's on the edge of the township, Hempfield Township. This is the boundary. South of this boundary is Huntington, East Huntington and South Huntington townships. The borough itself of Hunker is maybe around a half of a square mile. It's not big. It has its own post office. It's a nice little town. The more you see of it, the more you appreciate it, that it's a very nice, clean little place. This is the community building. You can see there are recreational facilities. It also has the borough offices in there. Now we start to look at something of the past of Hunker. This map is more than 160 years old. It was made in 1857, a long time ago. You see, this is the southern boundary of Hempfield Township right here. Up here is Sewickley Mill. Israel Painter was the guy who was running that. Israel Painter was a local mover and shaker. He was involved in a lot of things. You also see salt works around. They were extracting salt from underground. Israel Painter was involved in that. And down here was a carding mill. Now, that was not one of Painter's operations. A carding mill was a place to what you'd call process fabric. When you want to make fabric out of, say, wool from a sheep, one of the first things you do is you card it, which means you sort of comb it in a way that you get all the strands going in the same direction. And then what you do is you have to spin it into thread, and then you weave it into cloth. Now, here's Sewickley Mill, which is up here. Down here is that carding mill, which I showed you. And what I'm going to do is give you a more full view of this area. This is just an enlargement. Sewickley Mill, Israel Painter's Sewickley Mill is up here on Sewickley Creek. And further down the creek, you had a carding mill. The carding mill also needed motive power to run it, and they had them usually beside a stream. Thus, it's by Sewickley Creek. And the guy that is running the carding mill is F. Hunker, Mr. Hunker. So now we see where Hunker got its name, or as it was called over the years, Hunkers with an S on the. And in this road going through, right here below the mill, originally was bent a little bit, then it got realigned, and it became known as Bridge Street because it carried the bridge over Sewickley Creek. This view is showing us about 10 years later. This is 1876, actually 9 years later. This is pretty much the same territory, only something very important has changed. There is a railroad running down through here, and that is the issue that really made things change, made Hunker start to develop. What I'm going to do once more is I'm going to enlarge to this area. See, this red line I put down here, that is the Southwest Branch Railroad. That was put through there. It was started to run in 1873, and this map is just made 3 years after that. The blue lines are the streams. This is Sewickley Creek, and these are tributaries thereof. Now, what I wanted to point out is the fact that right beside the railroad, there was not just a carding mill, Hunker's carding mill, but now we see Hunker's Station. And that is how the town of Hunker became a town, by starting out as Hunker's Station. And as time went on, it became more populated. This is a view of it today. And from what I can make out, this area across the railroad tracks, this is the railroad tracks coming down. This would be Bridge Street coming across here. And this area over in here is, from what I can figure out, where the railroad station was originally. And we're going to take a look at that a bit closer. You see, we've just come down. In this area right here is where I figure the original Hunker Station was, the railroad station. You can see the railroad tracks. And right here you have the remains of something. Now, it may be just the remains of a drainage, or it may have been an underpass where people could walk over to the other side of the tracks. You see, the station was on one side of the tracks, and the town of Hunker was on the other. And it's possible that there was a underpass so to make it more safe to go from the station over to the town. I know the railroad would do that occasionally. Maybe somebody in Hunker has older relatives who have told them things about the old days in Hunker, and they would know where the old station was, perhaps. Now, what I want to point out here, this is F.M. Hunker plan. This is the original plan of the town of Hunker. And then there's Division Street, which was the division between the old plan, Hunker's plan, and the newer plans, which are added more or less to the north. And we have a beginning now to look at Hunker. And I'm going to have probably one more where we'll see some more about Hunker, learn some more about what had happened there and how it developed. And that's about enough for right now. So we'll see you again when we talk about Hunker once more at another time. Okay, bye now.